something that's come up from time to time in conversations at Shabbos meals and meeting people. And it's something I wanted to ask you, just a topical issue. Um, I find that quite a common theme I hear among Jewish women, Jewish girls that have gone to religious Jewish schools and institutions. Some of the time, I hear a bit of a resentment or a whining about the obsession with modesty and modest dress, and teachers or staff, literally like measuring clothing lengths and things like that, and that sort of being like one of the overarching messages. And it left for them a very bitter taste in the mouth, where they kind of just felt like they're being objectified, like they're being in some ways degraded, as if even if this is an important value, there are other important values that we should be taught about and should be emphasized. And in some cases, it kind of had the opposite effect, where, you say someone, it's just basic psychology, you keep shoving something down someone's throat, they're going to want to rebel. You always have a sane approach to these matters, and I wondered what your thoughts were on this subject.
Well, the Chabad approach is educate, enlighten, and inspire. Don't tell people what to do. Enlighten them on the subject of modesty. Teach them the ideas of modesty, and let them decide what they're going to do with it. Tell the world the truth and let them handle it. You don't dictate behavior, you tell the truth, and the behavior comes from the truth, not the other way around. Religion has failed miserably because it doesn't educate, it dictates. Well, that doesn't work very well in the long run. Like every teenager said, wait till I'm 18. Sure, now I'll behave myself, but as soon as I don't have to, I'm going to go wild. So, in most subjects, we educate. When it comes to modesty, we dictate. And everybody's shocked. Why? As if everything else is Torah, it's Judaism, you're into it, you're not into it, but you can't go out dressed like that. Well, what happened? So, of course, like you say, it brings a rebellion. No one says, don't tell me to keep Shabbos. I don't keep Shabbos. I do keep Shabbos. No one says, how dare you tell me to keep Shabbos? But everyone is offended by being told that they have to be modest. Because all of a sudden we go religious on them.
Why do you think we do that?
Because we're so personally offended. Not because it's a mitzvah in the Torah.
But why are we so personally offended?
It's a shame on the family. What does it mean when a father says, you can't go out dressed like that? What do you mean you can't? I can. No, you're going to embarrass the family. Nobody says that if you don't keep kosher. It's a shame on the family. But my daughter, the slut? Oh. Yeah. I say, my daughter, the desecrator of Shabbos? What is that? But my daughter, the slut, she's not a slut. In fact, most people who don't dress modestly are modest people.
Mm.
They just don't connect it to the dress. But they're modest people. They're good, they're moral, they're decent. So why, when it comes to that, we don't educate, we dictate? Because we make it a personal family thing. Don't shame me in front of my friends.
Or a school thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what would educating look like as opposed to dictating? How could you educate? What is the right way to educate? Because I think there's also, this is another thing that a girl was saying to me recently at a Shabbos table, that what they heard was that this is about trying to control men and control their urges, and you don't want to be an agent that provokes men. And I actually said to this girl an idea that we'd spoken about before, which is that it's not about what you're going to do to them. It's about the very idea of certain revealing certain body parts or certain level of intimate connection should be preserved and made sacred for certain types of relationships. It's not about provoking someone else. It's just about protecting a certain space. And she said that I can hear, that I can really appreciate. So it's so interesting that when you spin it differently, and I wondered, why is that the case? Why is it that people feel so differently when they hear it said that way?
Because it's not offensive. It's not a personal attack. I was once asked to speak to a religious school about the modesty of dress. I went in there and I said, you know what happened at Mount Sinai? God said to Moshe, tell the people that I am going to be speaking to you at the top of the mountain, and they will stand at the bottom of the mountain and hear our conversation. The people said, well, why doesn't God speak to us directly? In fact, why are we only going to hear him? We want to see him. Moshe goes back to God. This is literally in the text. Moshe goes back to God and says, the people want to see you. And God says, that's nice. No, you're going to hear me. Why won't God let us see him? Because seeing is shallow. God wants an eternal relationship with us, even when he disappears. He wants an intimate relationship that cannot be broken. Seeing him will not do that. It'll do the opposite. When you see something beautiful, you get excited. The first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time. Within a month, you're bored. That's what seeing does.
Mm.
Seeing does not create closeness. It's too objective. Hearing is closeness. You know, people who say, I found somebody who really hears me.
Mm.
Nobody ever said, I found somebody who really sees me.
Some people say I feel seen by someone. I feel very seen. But they more often say I
Which
feel
means,
heard.
yeah, or understood.
Mm.
He really knows me. That's intimacy. Anyway, that's all I said. And one of the girls came over to me and said, oh, I see what you're doing. What was I supposed to stand there and say? Your skirt should be at least 2 inches below your knee. Why? Uh, I don't know. I don't know why. Why? But by saying God practices modesty. Don't look at me, hear me. That's modesty. Without modesty in dress, it gets even worse. Not hearing me, you're just seeing me. Well, actually, you're not seeing me. You're just seeing my knees.
Mm.
You don't care about the rest of me. So I'm in seeing, you're not even seeing the person. So God says, this is not the kind of relationship I want. You're going to get excited about my knees?
And what do you
Divine,
say to
divine knees. They're very exciting.
those who say, some I also hear some women say, well, what about the double standard when it comes to men and women? So, there aren't the same concerns about seeing men's knees as there are women's knees.
Yeah, because men's knees are not exciting. Nobody says, I didn't notice the guy, I just noticed his knees. Oh, nobody does that. Anyway, a man's knees must be covered. I don't know where you get the impression that men don't have to be modest.
Oh, so you would say there should be the similar levels of clothing modesty for men and
Yeah,
women.
yes. Any part of the body that belongs to your intimate life should be kept intimate. Intimacy begins above the knee and above the elbow.
Okay, is this
It's
according
just the
to
fact.
our sages?
No, it's according to the facts of nature. You don't hug somebody with your wrists. You hug somebody with your upper arm.
Hmm.
Well, if it's meant for hugging, then don't expose it unnecessarily and treat it like it's public knowledge, public property. You know? So there's so much sense to the modesty thing. I mean, imagine a married woman sees her husband hugging another woman. She's horrified. He says, I was just hugging. It was just a hug. Well, aren't you supposed to be saving that for me? I'm your hug. It's so sensible.
Hmm.
But when you say, don't be a slut, I mean, come on.
Right. But what about hair? Hair is an issue where there's clear difference in.
Ooh, that's sheer brilliance. Brilliant. The sages of old, these out of touch rabbis, had the insight to know that hair is sensual long before anybody else discovered it.
For women, though.
Yes, a woman's hair is so much a part of her intimate identity. And that's why they don't want to cover it up. But who had the insight? Who had the sensitivity to know that hair is sensuous? In modern days, Madison Avenue discovered it.
What do you mean?
That hair is sensuous. Took a long time for the world to catch on. Okay, here's the whole story. When you expose your body, you're basically giving off sexual energy. It's dissipating into the air because the body, skin, is a sexual outlet. People who live naked don't get around to being intimate. The more exposed you are, the less sex you're going to have. Why? Because you depleted all your sexual energy. So, what part of the body needs to be preserved for intimacy? The parts of the body you use when you're being intimate. Otherwise, you're losing all your steam. The sages sat around and said, well, what about the hair? Does it give off sexual energy? And they realized it does. A woman's hair gives off sexual energy. So they came up with this brilliant plan. A single woman should not cover her hair because she doesn't have an intimate relationship. So giving off a little bit of sexual energy is healthy. Also helps her get married. But a married woman who has an intimate life, you don't want to give off any energy into the air. So you cover your hair to preserve that sexual energy for your intimate life. Somehow that got translated into, I'm saving it for my husband. No, not for your husband, for your intimate life with your husband, not for him.
Mm.
It's like, hey, you can see my hair. Because you're my husband, you get to see my hair. No, the energy is valuable and you don't want to waste any of it. So when you're married and you have an intimate relationship, so look at what's happening in society. People are not very modest and people are no longer sexual. Have no energy for it. The average couple, according to recent polls, the average married couple are intimate maybe once a month.
Wow.
And they sleep in the same bed every night. That's terrible. You're in the same bed and yet you're not interested? I'm tired. No, you have no sexual energy left. So seeing kills your intimacy. Oh, but aren't men very visual? Yeah, the more visual, the less intimate. So even married men would rather look at pornography. Why are you looking at others having intimacy when your wife is right next to you in the bed?
It's tragic.
Huh?
Tragic.
It is. That's how a society becomes extinct. You have no energy for sex. You have no energy to make babies,
Yeah.
and
We're
you
destroying
simply
ourselves.
disappear. It's just brilliant. The problem with looking at pornography is you're not going to want to be intimate with your wife. And some experts say, no, looking at pornography together enhances your
It
the
reminds me of the
law.
words of is it the Constitutional Declaration of Independence that says we hold these truths to be self-evident. What you're saying is just it's self-evident. And we're probably going to, I think we're already are starting to come to realize this as a society.
Yeah. Women who suddenly start dressing modestly, their intimate life blossoms. So, can't fool Mother Nature. Don't mess with her. She has no sense of humor.
Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.